Hey guys, in our last video, we talked about who are we, and this is the evolution of consciousness. This is part two in a multiple part series that's digestible and easy. I'd like to keep it under 15 minutes. But again, in our last video, we talked about who are we as far as it pertains to the evolution of consciousness. And I've had some great comments who have said, hey, yeah, we want to continue talking about this kind of stuff. We know that we have a body, right? That we are soul living in, we are consciousness living in and possessing a vehicle of manifestation that allows us to manifest the will, the divine will of God through our souls into this, to our mind, our will, and our emotions, our physical body, our mental body, and our emotional body. So what files do human beings possess is the question. To better understand the purpose of human experience, we need to know how human beings are formed. For the purposes of this discussion, we are going to consider the terms archive, body, field, or file to be synonymous. The human self or being is made up of several files that vibrate at different frequencies and have different dimensions. This is also what I like to call your vehicle of manifestation. And the first one is a physical body or genetic archive, which is the perfect creation of God. However, it breaks down. So even if you have born with certain disabilities or certain whatevers, it is perfect creation of God, exactly what it's supposed to be for this time and space. The teachers or masters call the body the experimental vehicle or the biological entity. We also have a mental field or mental body, which is the perfect laboratory where the information is processed and is also termed the personality archive. It is what enables us to experience life. This field has three levels of information in this mental. The unconscious part, where our defense system is. This is also where our survival mechanism comes from. It's what we use to survive. The conscious part of our belief system, which is also called our ego or personality. This is where our beliefs are formed. Everything that we accept, know, believe as dogma. So I would say that the unconscious part is generally through experience. The conscious part is learned through a belief system, kind of accepting it through the system of reward and punishment, accepting a belief system called an ego or personality. And then the third is the spiritual understanding part, which is the result of the verification of information through experience, applying knowledge. Likewise can be called temporary consciousness. And I want to say that the difference between the conscious experience is when we go through an experience and we just kind of assume or simulate in order to survive. Whereas the part C, the spiritual understanding, which is the result of verification of information, is when you receive some certain kind of information, like similar to what you're experiencing and learning right now, and you apply it to your life, and you try and you see, does this something that exists for you? Is this something that actually works for you? Are you learning it through experiential knowledge, or is it just something that that you were just taught? Because if it's something that you were just taught but you haven't experienced, then it's just a part of this conscious part of your belief system, which is called your ego, your personality. But it becomes spiritualized when it becomes a part of you and you become aware of it as a fuller truth. And then finally, we have a divine spiritual field that is gradually filled with the right information, which is processed in the mind after our experiences. This archive is the permanent or conscious archive. We can also call this the Christ-like being archive or the inner child. And the inner child is very, very important to understand and know, because we come to God like children. We come receiving, and this is a very important aspect, particularly in the new age and with consciousness, this new paradigm of information, because it can be very sticky between religion and between the freedom that might come through certain beliefs that we take on as us being God, us being an expression of God. When we declare ourselves to be the expression of God, we are saying, even if it's our higher self, even if we're aware that it's our higher self, it's super, super easy to slip into the unconscious mode of the ego, believing and accepting that it is, it doesn't need help, it doesn't need grace, it doesn't need anything else, that it's in control. And so I think important to recognizing ourselves as sons and daughters, or inner child, the inner child, or the Christ-like being who is the Son of God. We have to remember that the Son can do nothing of his own accord, but only what he sees the Father doing. For whatever the Father does, the Son does likewise, and that's in the book of John in the Scriptures. And so, and those who are sons follow the voice of the Spirit of truth, or the Holy Spirit, the set apart Spirit, which of course nothing is set apart, everything is working together, um, together as one. The body supports the mind physically. That is its purpose. And it makes experience possible with the three dimensional worlds. Although the mind is not three dimensional. But who does the work? Who conducts the whole process? It is the mind, the mental field. In it, experiences are had. The laws are discovered. Understanding is built. From it, love or ignorance is expressed, depending on what it contains. And of course, in the mind, all conflicts and human problems originate, as well as their solutions. Everything that happens then is within the mental field. So that's very, very important to understand that our mental field is one of the biggest aspects of living in this three dimensional holographic universe. The day that consciousness awakens, we no longer need mind or body because it will take over everything. And this can happen at any time, in any shape or any form, any body, any place, in any circumstance, because consciousness is absolutely divine and immortal. While this is happening, let's enjoy what is happening in our mind, directing it voluntarily. Sometimes it's a struggle. Sometimes it's we hate this back and forth, but like we really should count it joy, guys. We really should, because it is really such a beautiful experience. One day we will know all things. One day we will not experience life and experience the way that we have here in this human form. And so while we have the time, let's learn how to direct our thoughts within this time space continuum. This is a wonderful instrument. This transmitter and receiver of thought waves is much more powerful than we suppose. Consciousness is, therefore, the archive which collects the truth we discover throughout our entire evolutionary experience. Everything that happens, guys, is perfect and necessary. To lay the foundations of a new civilization with a higher level of satisfaction for everyone, we must begin by tuning ourselves. Doing this inevitably entails studying the universal laws and applying the principles that lead to wisdom, taking into account, moreover, that only through constant practice and discarding theories and concepts that prove to be wrong until we truly reach wisdom. This way, we can develop peace and harmony directly on the ground, with the teaching of daily life, as this is the best school and nature is the best teacher. To become efficient, we have to stop confronting the perfect order of the universe. Mental inefficiency is necessary in order to discover through saturation that the laws of the universe exist. Once and when we have suffered enough, we are ready to understand these laws. So, guys, see your suffering as a place of learning. See your suffering as something that is a messenger to you. To stop the external contest, first, the internal contest must end. And for this to happen, we must accept that everything that exists and happens is perfect and necessary because it has a purpose of love. That's very difficult to accept when we've experienced harsh things, and we resist it. We don't want to let go of certain beliefs, ideologies about what has happened in our past, what has happened to us, why other people deserve judgment, hell, or whatever. But in short, the study and understanding of why things happen and exist can lead us to the recognition of laws that can create a better future for all mankind. And if we don't know these laws, we're gonna continue to struggle, guys, and suffer until we come to an understanding of these laws and be willing to really submit to the law as universal truth. So there are 7 universal laws, and I really don't want to go into them right now, but I guess we can do it now, just for the sake of we have a few more minutes. So 1.3, the 7 universal laws. There are 7 universal laws that govern the process of creation, management, and the evolution of the universe. These are 2 different things, guys. The process of creation are the first 3 laws, and then the evolution of the universe and the evolution of the soul is in the last 4. Of the 7, 4 are fundamental. They govern and control the process of development and the evolution of our consciousness within the human species anywhere in the universe. These 4 laws constitute the lower triangle And the law of evolution is the superior law which governs the lower triangle, also called the triangle of hell, which constitutes the lower part of the universal laws. And we'll get into these ones specifically now. Here are the four specific laws which govern the human experience. The law of nature. What does it postulate? That all things are complementary and attract each other. That every living being requires specific food for its species. That every manifestation of nature requires favorable conditions and a favorable environment. That every living being has an instinctive sense of the law, that we understand and know if there's a sense if we do something, something else will happen. There's an instinctive sense of this law. All cycles of nature have specific functions. Every violation of the law produces serious consequences, and every living being has its function. Now, if we violate the law, we'll experience physical ailments, undernourishment, illness, vices, degeneration, misery, hunger, physical and mental defects, physical malformations, ecological imbalances, erosion, plagues, and shortening of longevity. This is what happens if we violate the law, guys, the law of nature. Then we have the law of harmony. It postulates that it is sent out, everything that is sent out acts, reacts, and returns. Everything that is attacked defends itself. Everything that pleases is accepted. Only love can transform beasts into persons. Only understanding avoids destruction. And we must control situations and not be controlled by them. And the best teacher is learning by example. The effects of violating this law, we got psychological ailments and relationship problems, distrust, fear, estrangement, isolation, individualism, loneliness, sadness, depression, fights, shyness, lack of communication, disunity, boundaries, traumas, and complexes. You guys think that all these things just exist as a part of your natural life, but no. Any disunity or any disharmony in your life, any physical ailments, any issues, problems, situations that arise are generally because of an effect of law that has been violated. And as you understand which law has been violated and we come to agreement with it, then we can come into an understanding of how to overcome it, transcend it, and then live in peace and harmony with ourselves and with the universe. The law of correspondence postulates every situation as a learning experience. Every circumstance is generated by one self. That's huge, guys, if we can accept that. That all events happen to whom they are meant to happen. We are always exactly where we are meant to be. We come to life with what we need to live it. And only what happens needs to happen. We only give or have what we need. You guys see how important this one is, that the circumstance is generated by yourself and that you're always exactly where you need to be and that we come to life with what you need. So pretending like you need more in order to accomplish your goals or to understand, you don't. You don't. You have everything you need right where you are. The effects of violating this law, we got upsets in the individual environment, mental blocks, dissatisfaction, difficulty in achieving success in what we do, a wearisome battle against the circumstances of life, inability to accept one's life, fears, anxiousness, constant frustrations. If you're experiencing any of these things, guys, you're probably going against the law of correspondence here. So check to see if any of these things are happening, if there's resistance in any one of these ways. We have the law of evolution, guys, and this postulates that experience alone opens the way for the true understanding of the truth. You can't just hear something and then accept it and believe it and claim it as your truth. There has to be a greater experience of it, and no one can take that experience away from you. And I think that's super, super important. Don't try and take other people's experiences away from them, or try and like push them away. Two, only opposites lead to the development of consciousness. Polarity, guys. This is what leads to the development of consciousness, because you're isolating from one to the other, and that's what causes movement. We move up a level only through the appropriate transformation. So trying to move up levels, going from 0 to 100 by doing mushrooms or doing ayahuasca. It's great stuff. It's plant medicine, great stuff. But be aware that there is a transformative process. You still got to deal with everything you need to deal with on a lower level also, guys. People want to open their third eye and they haven't done the balance work in their chakras, and they haven't balanced those energy systems in them, and it can be no good. It can be very, very bad. So just be aware of that. We are only the result of ourselves. We only argue with situations that we have not understood. If you understood it, you wouldn't argue with it, right? No one argues with a child, right? And if a child doesn't understand something, you're not going to sit up there and argue with it, right? You're going to say, "It's okay, little Johnny. We'll just move on from this for right now." Number 6, the need for understanding alone is the reason for physical existence. We literally, the beginning of wisdom is this: to get wisdom, and all you're getting, get understanding. We can only recognize balance from imbalance. It's important, guys. That's the law of polarity. Social upsets, rebellion, anarchy, or self destruction when limits are imposed on the experiences to be lived. Oh, that we experienced that a couple years ago, didn't we? War, strikes, violence, revolutions, delinquency, hate, conflicts when human concepts are imposed. Remember when human concepts were imposed a couple years ago, and how they're imposed now, guys? It is because collectively we are not getting this, the law of evolution. The universal laws should not be confused with human laws or rules. The universal laws are immutable and non-repeatable. Their origin lies in the wisdom of the absolute or divinity, and therefore they are absolute and cannot be amended or negotiated, and disobeying them brings a negative outcome. In the sense of the unpleasant, and also a positive outcome in the sense of it being a learning experience. That is why we say that in fact human beings do not dictate laws, but rules, and we call them human laws. However, they are rules because they can be abolished and temporarily and one off. So here you go, a big old situation here. These are the characteristics of the 4 laws which govern human experience, and we'll go into these in our next video. But thank you guys for watching. If you guys enjoy this, please write a message or interact with this video if you got anything out of it. And then also too, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or thoughts, be sure to go and throw those things in there. This is, I do want to make sure that you guys know, this is from, it's a book called The Evolution of Consciousness. It is from the Foundation of Conscious Development. And there should be a link to this, and you can get all of these and read it for yourself if you want to. If you go to that website, that's going to be posted. So much love to you guys. We'll see you in the next video.